Hey guys, it's Amber. So today's video is going to be an Ask a Stylist. So today I'm going to be answering some questions about all these different hair techniques and styles that are going on. Ombre, sombre, balayage. It's like, what do they mean? What kind of different looks are they? I'm just going to go over everything from top to bottom. So first of all, I'm going to just discuss a bunch of different kind of hair coloring terms, and then I'm going to talk about the actual techniques that they're done. So first of all, let's start off with ombre. So I think most of you are familiar with an ombre. Basically, ombre is a gradient. It just means from dark to light. So, I mean, my hair is darker at the root, it is lighter at the tip, so that could be considered ombre. Ombre has transitioned. When ombre first came out, it more seemed like a dip dye kind of ombre. You had the people with the really dark roots, or people were dyeing their roots dark, and then a very stark blonde end was more of the look that everyone was getting, or they would call it a melt, a color melt. That was also a popular term where I live. And it was very harsh and just like a very minimal blending area. Like it just was like dark and then a little bit of blending and then boom. Now the ombre has progressed more into softer blending, and you see more transition, and it really just depends who does the ombre. When I do ombres, I like to have that really nice melting blended look. I don't personally like the really stark look of an ombre because I feel like that's more like a do-it-yourself at home kind of look, where when you go to professional, you should have a really nice blend. Ombre has been popular for quite a few years, but it's one of those things that is kind of an out there trend. Like, as a hairdresser, people come in, they get foils. That's what they want. They want that kind of highlighted streaked look. They don't want to have roots. They want to have that, you know, just freshly colored look. So although it's been popular in fashion and celebrities, it's taken a while to trickle down to people that are more just ordinary people. And I'm finally feeling like now my clients are really wanting to try something else and trying to break away from their traditional highlighted look. And also, ombre doesn't necessarily just mean blonde. You can have ombre be a red. Like, I've done beautiful dark reds that have faded into more of a copper. There's lots of different types of ombre. Now, sombre is just the sister of ombre. Sombre is more what's coming into trends. Even though ombre is kind of on its way out, it's still in for those who haven't tried it yet. So you're still going to be seeing a lot of ombre because there's people who have been seeing it for the past few years and are barely getting up the courage to try it. So it's still going to be something you're going to see along, even though maybe the high fashion is going to start moving in another direction, which I'll talk about in a minute. But sombre is basically a soft ombre, and that's more of what I consider my hair to be. If you look at my hair, like, I have some, lighter pieces that go up to almost to my roots, and although I do have an ombre gradient, it's a lot softer, and that's something that I like in my hair. I like the softer look to it, and a lot of times with sombre, what you're going to see is a lift and tone. So you're going to see somebody that goes through and removes the color in the hair, and instead of leaving it that bright blonde, they're going to put a glaze over it. They're going to make it a honey. They're going to make it a caramel, something like that. That's definitely going to be in the sombre. People are always confusing ombre and balayage. They think well, ombre is balayage or balayage is ombre, and it's kind of one of those terms that people get confused about. And balayage can be ombre or it cannot be ombre. Balayage is simply hair painting. It's definitely just a technique, and you can use it to create an ombre. So basically, I use balayage in my hair. So what it is basically freehand painting. So instead of going through my hair and pulling up a piece and putting in a foil and painting it, I literally just took the hair and I painted it on like this on the pieces that I wanted to highlight. So you can just pick up the pieces and you basically paint it on freehand. That's what balayage is. And there's some people who do it with cotton, there's some people who don't. There's different techniques people use to do that, but basically it's just hair painting. So you can have an ombre that is done completely with foils. I've done that a million times. You just lay the foil flat, and you put your colors on and you just blend them in the foil, and then I'll just place another foil on top of it. But you also can do ombre with just putting it straight on and then hand painting the top. So there's different ways and different techniques to get the same kind of style, just depending on what the result you want it to be. So it's basically just a different technique to get a similar look. And with that being said, you can use balayage with any kind of color. I mean, you can literally balayage all the way to the root if you want. That doesn't mean it has to be just on the ends. It's just a hair painting technique. Another term that I've heard is blonde, and that's kind of what I consider my hair to be, and that's the new color of 2015, which is a brown blonde. Not so much your super platinum and not so much the brown. It's like the year of my color, the dirty blonde. It's like this in between that's not quite brown and not quite blonde, and someone just coined it blonde. And so if you Google blonde, basically, I mean, color that's similar to mine is going to come up. That's what a blonde basically is. So one of the new trends coming out is actually called baby lights. And this is something else I tried to incorporate into my hair when I colored it. And this is actually mimicking the natural look of a child's hair when they're in the sun. And if you have kids, or if you've ever just looked at your friend's hair when you were little, or just looked at little kids' hair, you can see like the coolest baby fine highlights that are like sprinkled in, but you also sometimes can see like thicker pieces that are just lightened, especially around the face, or a lot of times people will have them like right here because little kids wear their hair back in a ponytail all summer, and this part will just kind of get sun bleached. And then when they let it down, they've just got all these sunlights all around their face. So this is becoming the huge trend in Hollywood and stuff, is people want these baby lights. Same thing. You can do a baby light look with just like the thicker hand-painted balayage looks and get kind of that nice natural sun-kissed look where it's like you see the highlights but you don't necessarily see where they're coming from. And the other way to do baby lights is to foil. Here in the western United States, or where I live in Utah, that's what we'd consider a weave. But if you go to the south or to the east, a weave is more like extensions. It's like sewing in hair, and it's a completely different thing. So if you, depending on where you are in the US, if you ask for a weave, you're going to get entirely different things. But here in Utah, a weave is primarily just literally any type of foiling. And the reason why they use that name is you're literally taking the hair and you're taking a fine comb and you're just weaving sections out. And that's basically where the term is coined. You'll also see people who use the word frosted or just highlights. I mean, those are all very terms that have kind of come and gone throughout, you know, the time that highlighting and coloring has been popular. So the way they do it with foiling is they literally take tiny, tiny sections, like so thin that you could read a newspaper through. And instead of taking like a medium kind of chunky highlight like has been popular in the last few years, or like, let us not forget the skunk stripes that were in about 10, 15 years ago, where everybody had like stripe, stripe, stripe. Yes, we did that. I did that. We can all move forward. It's okay. But these are basically so fine of highlights that are just intermixed all over the hair. So you can get them just through the crown. You can get them throughout. And it's basically just tiny, tiny little highlights that are very pale blonde, so that you can't really see that there's highlights in the hair. It's just an overall lightening that gives it that baby lights look. So I actually think it would be cool to combine both looks, to do a lot of the little highlights throughout the hair, and then to take a few pieces and balayage some brighter pieces that were kind of around your face, that were framing your face a little bit, and combine the two looks, and just to create that ultimate natural looking hair. Because I've actually seen hair that has quite a bit of thickness, or I've seen hair that like underneath is quite dark and the top will be light. So when I colored my hair, I actually did 2 shades darker on this underneath part, and then right around here, the crown and my hairline, I did 2 shades lighter on my root color, and then I added in the balayage highlights. So it's really something you can play around with and kind of see what kind of look that you want to create. So with those being kind of the main buzzwords that are running around in the hair industry right now, I thought I would kind of explain those to you as far as what they mean here in my state. I know, like I said, different places in different countries, they may mean totally different things, but where I'm from, that's kind of what you're going to get when you ask for those certain things. And it's nice to educate yourself on those things, so when you go into a salon, you know what you're going to expect. If you ask for a very fine foil weave versus you ask for balayage, you're going to get different results. So it's cool. And also, like, when you go to the hairdresser, the best thing to do is to bring a picture, and not just hand the picture to the stylist. Explain what you see in the picture and what you like about it. And you could, like, if you brought a picture of my hair, you could say, I really like how all the ends are really light, and I like how there's not a really rooted look. I like how, you know, you can see highlights in the hair, but you can't see like really where they're coming from, that they're very blended and natural, but I like that they're a little bit thicker and they are noticeable. And things like that help so much instead of just handing a picture to somebody and then you might end up with like a really stark, you know, ombre and you're like, that's not what I wanted. So communication is the key. Always, if you have a question for me regarding hair coloring, cutting, anything to do with hair, leave a comment down below or tweet it to me with hashtag #AskAStylist, and I will look at those and see if there's something that I want to do for my next video. I love helping you guys understand, and these videos have been really popular, so I'm glad that these could be helpful for you guys. All right, I'll see you later. Bye.